The story I want to share with you happened just 2 months ago, and it's like a real-life thriller. I'm 25 years old and have a husband and daughter. At that time, my husband was in the Army. Our adventure began when we moved up north to live with my husband's relatives. We rented a new apartment in a house that had been built only a year ago. At first, everything seemed normal and fine with our move. However, a few months later, strange things started happening. First, the elevator in our building sometimes took us to the wrong floor. We thought it was just a technical issue, but later, we found out it had been happening for a while. In our apartment, weird things started to occur. The fridge would turn off on its own, and sometimes, the plug in the kitchen would come out of the socket. We initially thought it might be our daughter, but soon realized it wasn't her. As time went on, things got weirder. Someone would knock on our windows at night, doors would open by themselves, and even the toilet would flush by itself sometimes. Once, we came home to find all our books on the floor, and the TV and computer were turned on, even though no one had used them. One day, I met our elderly cleaning lady by accident. During our chat, she told me something that made this whole story even scarier. She said our house was built on an old graveyard, and a woman who was suspected of doing witchcraft was buried there, and they burned her alive. I didn't believe this story immediately, but the idea of a burned woman was shocking. Things kept getting stranger and scarier. Despite everything, we continued living in the apartment, but it took a toll on us. My husband left me and our child alone to serve in the Army. The creepy sounds at night didn't stop, and I felt like something ominous was approaching. The scariest moment came 3 months after my husband left. All the things that used to fall suddenly left marks. Forks that fell stayed in the sockets, and a broken vase left pieces behind. It was terrifying. In the midst of the kitchen chaos, I saw a vision. A young man in a military uniform lying in a coffin. He raised his hand and pointed at me. At first, I thought it was my husband, but when I saw his face, I realized it was a completely unfamiliar guy. I was filled with fear, and I immediately called my husband. He told me he had seen this guy, too, but he appeared to be packing his things. He didn't pay much attention to it, thinking it was just his imagination. The next evening in the kitchen was a nightmare. Things were flying everywhere, and suddenly, I felt the urge to hold a small kitchen cabinet. I walked over to it, but it fell, knocking me to the floor and breaking my leg. After that, everything went quiet, and I passed out. I spent several weeks in the hospital until they removed my cast. When I returned home, my mother-in-law shared a fantastic story about our house's construction. It turns out there used to be a house on the site where a woman lived with her son. When her son left to serve in the Army, the woman broke her leg and was stuck at home for months. When her son returned, he took care of her, but when it was time for him to return to the Army, she didn't want to let him go. Then something strange happened. She heard her son and hand him. After that, a graveyard appeared on the site of their house, which existed for 20 years before they tore it down to build a new home. Priests blessed our apartment, and mediums said that the souls of those who died on the site were still here. Many of our neighbors also experienced strange events. About 250 out of 300 apartments were blessed. Peace may return when all 300 apartments go through the same process. After my cast has been removed, it's quiet in the apartment. We only hear faint noises at night. I continue to hope that all of this is behind us, but the history of this house will always remind me of the incredible events we went through. This scary story happened to me, and it changed my life forever on a terrifying day at the graveyard when I said my final goodbye to my father. It was raining heavily, and the sky was very dark, matching my sadness. tears mixed with raindrops on my face as I stood by my father's grave. Suddenly, I saw a boy standing nearby. He looked dirty, and his feet were bare, cold from the rain. He seemed hungry and sad. The boy whispered, "Food," in a weak and shaky voice, looking at me as if I were his last hope. I felt sorry for him and decided to help. We went to a nearby store and bought him food and warm clothes. I thought I was doing a good thing. But when we returned to the graveyard, the boy had disappeared. The food and clothes were left on my father's grave as if he had vanished into thin air. Later, I started having nightmares. In my dreams, I saw the boy, his face full of fear and pain. He had no teeth, and white circles glowed in the dark instead of eyes. He came to my house in the middle of the night, and I saw his shadow through the peephole in the door. He kept repeating one word: "Eat." Fear and despair overwhelmed me. I decided to seek answers at the church located in the same graveyard. A priest there told me the scary story of the boy who had lived in our town 20 years ago. He had been an orphan and had found a home in our church. We fed and cared for him, but one day, he disappeared. After a few days, they found his lifeless body in the woods. It turned out that a car had hit him, and a drunk driver had been responsible. This person had taken his body and hidden it in the forest, trying to hide his crime. Since then, the boy's spirit often appeared at the graveyard, unable to find peace. The priest explained that my kindness that day had made me the object of his obsession. My compassion and help offer had caused his restless spirit to follow me, seeking mercy and nourishment for his soul. Now, my life has become a never-ending nightmare. The boy haunts me wherever I go, and I cannot find relief. His unending hunger remains unsatisfied, and my nerves are on the brink of breaking. I live in constant fear, and my nightmare never seems to end. Was it just a coincidence or something more? I'm really into spooky stuff and often ask my friends to share their scary life stories. I've heard many, but this one is the most mysterious. My friend, who's 18 now, told me about something that happened to him 5 years ago. I'll tell the story from his perspective to keep the mood. Like many kids, I'd go to my grandma's village near Brighton every summer. 6 years ago, I met my friend Alexander there. He also visited his grandma each summer. There weren't many kids our age in the village, just Kate and a few younger kids, plus some older guys. Alexander and I hung out a lot, and we both had a crush on Kate. The story takes place in the middle of summer. It was a dull day. The village had no chores, and Kate was sick. As the day ended, Alexander suggested we check out the local cemetery. I agreed, and oddly, we weren't scared at all. We were curious to look at the pictures on the graves, read birth and death dates, and learn about people's lives. But one grave caught our eye. It was the grave of a young woman, and it was clear she had been buried recently. There were fresh, really pretty flowers that seemed to be grown in someone's garden. Alexander had the idea to pick 3 flowers and give them to Kate to wish her a speedy recovery. I hesitated because I thought it might be bad luck, but I gave in after some convincing from Alexander. So, we took 3 flowers from the grave. By the time we were heading back, it was dark outside. We got back around 11 p.m. Kate was already asleep, so we asked her mom to give her the flowers. She thanked us and put the flowers in a vase near Kate's bed. After that, we went back home. I had a strange feeling that night, but I told myself I did it for Kate. The following day, I went to Alexander's house, and we decided to visit Kate together. We knocked on her door and found her mom crying. We were worried and asked what happened. She let us in and told us that she went to check on Kate in the morning. She found her sleeping, but when she tried to wake her up, Kate was shocked for no reason. Her mom tried to comfort her, but she didn't understand what was happening. Suddenly, the shock disappeared as quickly as it had come. We were shocked ourselves and asked to see Kate. We went into her room, and she was crying. We tried to calm her down, and she started to feel better. I looked at the flowers and freaked out. They had all turned black. By lunchtime, Kate was back to normal. After that, we blamed ourselves for what happened, but Kate never said anything. She was too scared. Even now, I still don't know if it was just a coincidence or something else.